Where you're giving, ooh, is that out of focus or is it my eyes? It's out of focus. It's hard to tell, man. I am losing some eyesight bad here. All right. So we have standard form, okay? And what standard form does, it gives us the two intercepts, the x-intercept and the y-intercept. Now, the x-intercept, is where it crosses our x-axis, okay? So let me see if I got a highlighter here. So we're talking about the x-intercept where it crosses the x-axis there. Okay, now whatever the number of my x is, excuse me, what's going to be the value of my y? In other words, look at that point right there. What's the coordinates of that point? Mm-hmm. Positive 2, comma, 0, right? What's going to be the coordinates of this point? Co- Comma, 0. So what's always 0? The y coordinate, right? So no matter what the x is, the y coordinate is going to be 0. So if I were to come over here and say they give us the x-intercept equals 1, so the x-intercept equals 1, my 1 is I'm going to substitute in the value of 1 for my x, and y is always going to be 0. So there's one of my points, 1 comma 0. All right, now the y-intercept is where it's going to cross my y-axis. There's my y-axis. But this time, what's going to be 0? The x coordinate, right? So the x coordinate is always going to be 0. The y is going to change. So for example, this point is 0 comma 1. This point is 0 comma 3, so on and so forth. So when they give us the y-intercept of negative 4, that means my x is always going to be 0, and then my y I substitute in the value of negative 4. So that's the point they're telling us to use. 0 comma negative 4. I have 2 points. I have the x-intercept and the y-intercept. I can draw my line. Now these you're going to have to use a straight edge. Unless you're really, really good at drawing lines. So that's my standard form, where they give you the intercepts. Let's do another one. They give us the x-intercept, and again, my x-intercept, my y is always 0, and I substitute in for this one negative 3 for my x. So I have negative 3, 0, and then for my y-intercept, my x is always 0, and I substitute in negative 1 for my y. So here's my 2 points. Negative 3, 0, and 0, negative 1. And I can draw my line. Questions? Now, most of our problems, in fact, 99% of our problems, they're not going to tell us, well, this is your x-intercept, this is your y-intercept. They're going to put it in an equation, right? Standard form equation. So you have to figure out what the x and y intercepts are. But again, keep this concept in mind. The x intercept For the x-intercept, remember my y equals 0. So what I'm going to do here is take my equation, 4x plus 3y equal 12, and I'm just going to substitute in 0 for my y. And what that does is it eliminates this term, turns it into 0. So all I have to do is solve for x, divide both sides by 4. Oops, I should use different color. Divide both sides by 4, and my x here is going to equal 3. So my x-intercept, 3 comma 0. So my x-intercept, where it crosses the x-axis, 3 comma 0. And I do that for the y. So I'm going to go ahead and substitute in for the y-intercept. If I substitute in 0 for my x, right? So I'm going to substitute in 0 for my x. So 4 times 0 plus 3y equal 12. This time, my x term is 0. All I have to do is divide by 3 both sides, and my y equals 4. So my y-intercept is going to be, my x is 0, my y is 4. So 0, 4, got my 2 points, draw my line. And that's what the other rest of the problems are like. Let's look at number 12, just because there's no coefficient for y. I want to see if it's different. So for my x-intercept, let's see, I want my y to equal 0. So it's going to be 2x plus 0 equal 2. Divide both sides by 2. So I get x equal 1. So my x-intercept is 1 comma 0. And then my y-intercept, I want my x to be 0. So 2 times 0 plus y equal 2. Oh, this one turns out to be pretty easy. There's my 0. So my x-intercept, or I'm sorry, my y-intercept, 0 comma 2. 0 comma 2. There's my 2 points. That's it. Okay. Standard form. Now we'll need to do this. We need to know this review because the next section is systems of equations. Remember, we find out the 3 different types of problems. But you got to remember how to graph lines. Any questions?